Hello, everyone. I am going to kind of kick off I guess I would call it a lecture series on the PPE manual. And so I'm going to do my best. I tend to ramble, and so I'm going to do my best to keep these recordings pretty short. And so we're going to just start off tonight with some of the basics. So if you go to Unit 2 in Brightspace, scroll down. I have a hyperlink here for the PPE manual. So this used to be a physical paper manual, a very thick manual, and we would send it out to every PPE mentor in advance of the PPE beginning. And we would also provide our students with one, but that got to be super cumbersome. And in this stage of electronic information, we went this route. And so that's why we're still kind of referring to it as a PPE manual versus a website, because it's still structured very much like that paper manual. So I'm gonna click on this. All right, so I'm hoping you can all see this. This is just a little welcome page here. This link is provided to all of our PPE mentors now. So they have access to all of the same things that you currently have access to. So they know what you're responsible for and what they're responsible for. So I'm just going to start over here with the basics for this recording. And I'm not going to go through all of these things, but first we have definitions. This is just to kind of explain different things that you might see here, and to obviously define them for you and help explain them more if you question anything. Okay. Here's our criteria selection of professional practice sites and mentors, kind of like what we use as a guide. Please note that some of this stuff is still referring to an 80-hour PPE versus the way we're kind of going now in light of COVID. And so some of this stuff, you're just going to have to know, okay, and now we're virtual, or now I'm on site, but it's COVID and we're talking 40-hour PPE. Okay. And so just maybe take some time and go through this, how, if you're kind of wondering how we pick, but I don't think I'm going to read this all to you right now. We do have a few policies. First is termination of the affiliation policy. And so affiliation is just another word for the PPE. And actually, I should probably pull that word. That is kind of an older term that we used to use when we had, 3 PPEs that we offered students. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of things here. We definitely want you guys to conduct yourself in a professional manner. I think that goes without saying, really. We are looking for you to adhere to all of the, St. Scholastica policies and procedures, our student handbook, and of course the HEMA Code of Ethics while you're conducting your PPE. Now, if you're going on site, of course, we would want you to comply with all of the PPE sites policies and procedures, such as dress code, parking, use of cell phones, use of the computer, internet, those kinds of things, okay? So those are things you might want to talk with your PPE mentor about when you get on site. Also, I want to point out that we do have an agreement with each college, sorry, it's late in the day, with each PPE site. And so that affiliation agreement or contract lays out a bunch of obviously requirements and responsibilities on the part of both the college and the PPE organization or site. Okay, so here I just want to point out they do reserve the right to dismiss you immediately for any violations of professional behavior, their policies and procedures, ethical breaches, of course, theft, any kind of breach of privacy, security, confidentiality, those kinds of things. They kind of go without saying, but I want to point them out that we do have that addressed here. And if you, for some reason, are dismissed from your site, please report it to me as soon as possible. It will probably most likely, if it's a pretty egregious, one of these elements up here, could get you dismissed from the entire HIM program. And so want to make you aware of that. Failure to present to the affiliation PPE site at the arranged time frame unless there is a verifiable emergency will result in the failure of the course and may include dismissal from the HM program. So you're probably like, why does she have that in there? And that's because we've actually had to deal with this where a student just did not show up, didn't share what happened, didn't report. And so it's just really important that you're present. And so as we think about the virtual PPE, again, it's just important that you're present, right? For these meetings that you and your group are going to set up, because you're going to just be really great at communicating with each other and set up a time that works for everyone. And so there should be no reason for you to miss unless you are, of course, sick or there was an emergency. And so if something like that does arise though, please, please reach out to me as soon as possible and I will let your group members know, okay? Let's see here. The affiliation PPE is arranged by myself. I am the HIIM Academic Coordinator of Professional Practice Experiences, or the program manager, which is Eric, okay? And so what we want to point out here is that the dates and times of these PPE should not be altered by students. We've also had this happen. So for those of you going on site, if you need to change your start date, if you need to take a day off, if you need to change something, please work with Eric or myself to get that change made. Don't just make that decision, okay? Also, affiliation PPEs cannot take place without a fully executed agreement between the college and the PPE facility. And so if you were to start without an agreement in place, you would also fail the professional practice experience or the course. And so Eric will be the one to tell you when that agreement is in place. If you're virtual, you don't really need to worry about this, but of course, if you're going on site, that does need to be fully executed before you step foot on their premises, okay? And then, of course, again here, just make sure you're familiar with the policies and procedures on dismissal, appeals, all that good stuff, okay? All right. Background study policy, I'm also not going to go into that very much because that is also kind of different right now with COVID. If you're going on site, this is all still pretty accurate, but with COVID, we're not requiring as many background studies. Just know that you have to have the background study done before you start your PPEs, okay? Then absences, let's talk about this for a second. So, if you're ill and can't attend your PPE, you should really, if you're going on site, like I said, contact your mentor as far as in advance of the situation as you can. So communicating with your PPE mentor is super important, but also communicating with me and letting me know that you have to miss because you're ill or something. And the same thing goes for those of you that are completing virtual PPEs, okay? Excused absences from the PPE include illness, death of a member of the immediate family, or similar family emergency requiring the student to miss scheduled experiences. In the event of an absence, it is left to the PPE site manager or mentor to determine if the time can be made up, okay? So if they can reschedule it, if you're able to reschedule it and do that, great. So in the past, if we have had, of course, had students get ill and not be able to make it. And so sometimes they maybe just work longer. I shouldn't say work. They're at the PPE site longer, maybe, to get their project done or whatever it is. So maybe it's more like 9 hours for the rest of the PPE or something similar to that. Or if you do have the flexibility, maybe it's adding on a day at the end, okay? Excessive absence from the PPE is defined as absence for more than 2 scheduled days during the PPE. And so this definitely applies to our on-site experiences, okay? And excessive absences are reported to me, of course, and the PPE site mentor would be the one to report that, okay? We would then reschedule your PPE if you missed too much of the time, either at the same or a different facility, I would give you an incomplete for that PPE, and then you would have to really wait till the next fall to complete that PPE. So we don't want that to happen. Just try to be present. If you can't, communicate with me. Okay. All right. That's enough for now. I'll be back with another lecture shortly on the mentor part of this. All right. Let me see if I can get this to stop. There we go. All right. Bye, everyone.